as I was saying, Joy Taylor, every dog has its day. And since I'm a big dog, I've got 2 days.
Okay.
So now.
You just called yourself a dog?
Yeah, I'm a dog. Yeah, I'm a big dog, a big one.
Kevin Durant is 6'11", who can pull up from 40. Okay. This brother is on that level. I'm talking about offensively.
Do you think you're better than Darrelle Revis is right now?
I'm better than you.
Good afternoon / good evening, and thanks for listening to another episode of the Lowdown Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Brown, as always, and I have another jam-packed show to offer y'all today. And just like 2 Mondays ago and last Monday, remember those top 10 rankings I had for each position? Now, today, I'm moving on to the receivers with the NFL. So I got my top 10 picks leading into the 2020 season. But before I get to that, I'm going to bring up some bad news, and I'm going to bring up some good news. This has nothing to do with me. This is sports media. So starting off, I just want to say rest in peace to Tavares Jackson. He was in my opinion, I thought he was a great quarterback when he played for the Minnesota Vikings, and he was a starter one season with the Seattle Seahawks in 2011. Had over 3,000 passing yards. As a matter of fact, he had a decent season that year, and then he spent his final 3 seasons with he played for the Bills after that. Then he spent his final 3 seasons with the Seahawks, and he started his first season, back with the Seahawks, and then when Russell Wilson got drafted, he spent the rest of his days behind him. Now, here's the thing. He was last seen as the Tennessee State quarterbacks coach. He seemed to be doing pretty well, and then all of a sudden, boom, he passes away in a car accident. So, that's very devastating to hear. And, prayers go out to his family and his friends and all those that knew him pretty well. And then moving on to the next headline, which is also sad news, which is Karl-Anthony Towns. Now, his mother passed away to COVID-19. So, prayers go out to him, his family, his teammates, his friends, and anybody that knew his mother pretty well. It's just, again, a tragedy, devastating to hear. And then it's just, that shows you that you shouldn't downplay the coronavirus. There's still people out there downplaying it. There's still people going out having these social gatherings when they're not supposed to because they believe they're invincible to it. But again, this is a serious thing that's going on, not just in America, but all over the world. And the cases continue to rise. We are so close to having 600,000 cases, and they continue to climb. So, again, please wash your hands. Please follow the rules. Keep your distance from people. Stay at home. FaceTime your friends if you want to see them. I mean, there's so much you can do without physically seeing people or physically going to gatherings. Okay, so now moving on to the next headline before I break this top 10 list of receivers. Christian McCaffrey is a bad man. I know I stole that from Stephen A. Smith with Aaron Rodgers, but this time the reason why I'm saying that is because he agreed to sign in a 4-year extension with the Carolina Panthers, and he'll be making $16 million a year. Can you believe that? So that makes him the highest paid running back in NFL history. And in order to, break this down, I think the reason why he's getting paid so much is because, think about it. This guy is not only a running back, but he's also a receiver, and he's also a kick return / punt returner. He can play everywhere. He can play slot. He can play outside receiver, obviously playing running back, and he's a great or phenomenal punt return and kick returner. So he's a multi-talented weapon that he can be used on the field. So again, and in order to finalize that statement, he is the only player with 2,500 rushing yards and 2,500 receiving yards in his first 3 seasons. That's never happened before. So he's definitely made the history books, and he definitely deserves to get paid as much as he's getting paid. All right. So enough of these headlines. That's all I wanted to talk about for that. Now it's time to do this top 10 wide receiver ranking list. Again, this is my list. I did not take this from other people. This is my list. I did my research, and this is what I feel. It's all opinionated, so feel free to get upset with me if you want to, but if not, let's do it. So starting off with the drum roll. Starting off at number 10, I'm going to go with Kenny Golladay for the Detroit Lions. All right? The reason why this guy, he's a young cat, and think about it. Some analysts will say that it takes about, 3 years for most wide receivers to really catch on in the NFL, to catch the pace. And it seems like Golladay is that new poster boy for that idea. And think about it. He had a magnificent breakout campaign with the Lions last season, and he posted career highs with 1,190 receiving yards and 11 touchdowns. And he's become one of the league's one of the most underrated players. And he's also a tremendous red zone threat for Matthew Stafford. Now, Matthew Stafford also wasn't really healthy throughout the season, but again, he can be a threat for any quarterback that's out there. So again, Kenny Galladay is a sleeper, I believe. Not many people know about this guy. He's young, like I said, but he is extremely impressive. He runs great routes. Obviously has great hands, and he's definitely a threat for defensive backs. And another thing I wanted to add on to that is his contested catch rate this past season was really, really impressive again. So, again, this guy is definitely not a guy to sleep on. Definitely watch out for him this upcoming season. Hopefully the NFL starts on time. I mean, right now they have no plans of doing anything. Right now it's kind of too early to call it. It's only April 13th today, and which meaning that 10 days from now the NFL draft is going to be happening virtually. So I'll get into that in other episodes. But again, Kenny Galladay deserves every right to be on this top 10 list. And another thing, he has other receivers to work with. You got Marvin Jones and Danny Amendola. Danny Amendola used to play with, Tom Brady with the Patriots a few years back. So these guys obviously have some experience under the belt too. So again, there's chemistry with those guys, chemistry with Matthew Stafford, obviously. And then you also have Kerryon Johnson in the backfield. Now, he needs to stay healthy as well. He's a guy that missed out particularly the whole season just about. Only played the first 1 or 2 games of the season. But again, if Kenny Galladay is amongst all his other top tier players on the offensive roster, that if they remain healthy, the Lions could be a sleeper in the NFC North. Again, that's another hot take. So again, Kenny Galladay, number 10. Moving on to number 9, and I'm going to choose Chris Godwin, who was a receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Another young guy he spent under 5 seasons in the NFL. Again, within the first 3 to 5 seasons, like I mentioned, it takes roughly 3 years for them to really catch on. Again, Chris Godwin's another guy that's proved that. And this is the thing. His first 3 seasons, stat-wise, have been exponential. Because on his rookie year, he only had 525 receiving yards. And during his second season, he had 842. And then his third, which just happened, he had 1,333 receiving yards. Again, this guy is definitely it's pretty obvious that he's improving every single season. And here's another thing. Jameis Winston is no longer he's a free agent. He's no longer really with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's now Tom Brady's team, if you really think about it. And Jameis Winston had now this is the thing, he's much younger than Tom Brady. Winston had a stronger arm than Brady does. Winston, the only problem about him is he was extremely inconsistent, had over 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. Brady, on the other hand, Brady has much better awareness than Winston does. Again, Brady is a 6-time Super Bowl champ. Brady is definitely a Hall of Famer, first ballot for sure. And now he's going to be running Bruce Arians' offense. I'm telling you, Chris Godwin could continue to boost his production every season. Now, I don't know how long Tom Brady's going to be with the Buccaneers. I mean, everybody knows about his contract and everything, but it is to be determined because you know how he is. He might want to continue to play despite his contract, so we'll see. But at the same time, Chris Godwin has a bright future ahead of him, and he has also Mike Evans right next to him. And, obviously you got Ronald Jones II and O.J. Howard. So Tom Brady's going to have a lot of fun this season. I mentioned it in previous episodes. I was going to want to say it again. Again, Chris Godwin deserves every right to also be on this list at number 9. That's enough of that. So now I'm going to move on to number 8. And the drum roll for that one is, I don't know why I did a drum roll for number 9, but I'm just going to do it every other number. So for the even numbers, it'll be a drum roll. So for number 8, a ding, 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 it's going to be Chris Godwin's teammate, Mike Evans. I had to pick him. I'm sorry, I had to pick him. Mike Evans is, another thing is, he's basically worked with an erratic and frequently inaccurate quarterback, which is Jameis Winston. I mean, even despite that, Mike Evans' numbers are nothing short of remarkable. The reason why I say it is because since he came into this league, he averaged over 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns each year. And this thing, I'm going to call him old man. So old man Tom Brady, see, he definitely, like I said with Chris Godwin, he can't match Jameis Winston's athleticism or pure arm strength. But here's the thing, Tom Brady has a lot of precision, and that'll mean Mike Evans' best days could possibly be ahead of him. So that's going to be a scary thought for the rest of the NFC South. I mean, I told you, the NFC South is going to be, in my opinion, the most entertaining division in the NFC, if not the entire league. And obviously, Chris Godwin, his teammate, being a few years younger, and you got, I already mentioned it, Ronald Jones II, O.J. Howard, Tom Brady. I mean, again, the Bucs are going to be a team to watch besides the Falcons and the Saints and even other teams that are elsewhere, all right? So, again, Mike Evans, that's the reason why he deserves to be on this list at number 8. So moving on to number 7. And for number 7, I chose Stefon Diggs, who's now with the Buffalo Bills. I know you guys are pretty aware if you paid attention to the NFL free agency the past 3 to 4 weeks. Stefon Diggs was one of the guys that made the headlines when he got traded to the Buffalo Bills from the Minnesota Vikings. And the reason why I'm choosing Stefon Diggs is because he is arguably the greatest route runner in the NFL right now. I don't know if you ever see his videos he put on Instagram or just just go to the film room, for example. Go to YouTube, watch his highlights. Watch some of his highlights in the practice field. Watch some of his highlights in college, too, when he played for Maryland. This guy has some crisp routes. I don't know how he does it. He has really quick feet. He's worked with one of arguably the greatest NFL trainer there is, and his name is Rashad Whitfield. He calls himself the Footwork King, who's in Houston. Stefon Diggs has worked with him several times, and I'm telling you, his footwork is unrealistic. Like, it's godlike. It's similar to, I wouldn't say godlike. It's similar to Spider-Man, and Spider-Man is obviously not human, right? So this guy I don't understand how his feet are so quick. Obviously, it's God-given talent, but he's definitely utilized it in every aspect of the game. And another thing I wanted to say is he's going to be working with a young quarterback. Obviously, Josh Allen's a young guy, so there's a future in both of these guys. Stefon Diggs is only 25 going on 26. He's around that range. He's still a young guy. Definitely entering his prime. I wouldn't say he's in his prime yet, but he's going to be entering his prime within the next season or two. And he's also here's the thing. He's also going to be a huge commodity for that roster because now Cole Beasley doesn't have to worry about doing it by himself. John Brown also. Two of those guys are also going to add depth to that team. And this is the thing. He's going to have to build chemistry with Josh Allen. So say Stefon Diggs builds chemistry. I'm pretty sure he will. He doesn't really have that many off-the-field issues. He seems like a aspiring guy. He seems like he's, very positive. He seems humble. He doesn't seem like he's just a problem. I mean, the biggest problem I can think of, well, everybody can agree with, is Antonio Brown. But no need to get into that. And I just feel like Stefon Diggs will have a great season. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, there's not enough information right now because this is his first time playing with Josh Allen in this new roster. You can only go off of what he's done in the previous seasons, but that won't matter. It's a new season, so you got to clear the picture, turn the page, and move on. But again, Stefon Diggs has every right to be on this but be on this list at number 7. So now on to number 6, and it's going to be a drum roll because it's an even number. All right. Odell Beckham Jr. for the Cleveland Browns. Now, here's the thing. During Odell's first 3 seasons, he really tore up the league. I mean, think about it. He had 4,122 yards and 35 touchdowns those first 3 seasons. In his next 3, he had about 2,389 yards to be exact and 13 touchdowns. So it's kind of hard to say whether Beckham will return to his pre-2017 form. That sounded just like Dragon Ball Z. I had to say it. But for the Browns' investment, I feel like it's worth I feel like it's worth it to see if any talented receiver can reestablish themselves as an elite wideout, especially the pre-2017 Odell Beckham Jr. But again, OBJ, this season he was a little bit off. I mean, it was just the Browns were off this period. They were off with the Myles Garrett news, and Baker Mayfield seemed like he wasn't really connecting with both OBJ and Jarvis Landry. He eventually did later on in the season, but by then it was too late. Just like Drake, if you're reading this, it's too late. So let's just say Baker Mayfield improves. Say he communicates better with OBJ, Jarvis Landry, offensive coordinator, obviously new head coach now. You don't have to worry about Freddie Kitchens. So let's say things work out. Then OBJ, in my opinion, I feel like he'll have another breakout season. Now, and then plus Mayfield has a lot of talented players on this roster. You got David Njoku. Now, he needs to stay healthy. You obviously have Nick Chubb, who's one of the best running backs in the league right now. Kareem Hunt, who's one of the best, if not the best, backup running back in the league. And now they got a new addition, Austin Hooper. So now they got depth at the tight end position, not just David Njoku. Now they got Austin Hooper, who just came in from Atlanta. So, again, Mayfield has a lot of talent to work with. And let's just hope he does the right thing. They call the right plays, and Odell Beckham Jr. catches more passes. So, again, he deserves to be on this list because this guy is definitely a threat. We all know it. And hopefully he makes up for despite the flaws that he had this past season. So, again, that was number 6, Odell Beckham Jr. Now moving on to number 5 on the list, and that I chose Amari Cooper with the Dallas Cowboys. Now, you guys are probably thinking this is just ridiculous, but I had to choose Amari Cooper. I had to put him over Odell Beckham Jr. because Amari Cooper had a much better season than OBJ did. And, I mean, pretty much every receiver on this list, besides Mike Evans, pretty much had a better season than OBJ. Now, here's the thing. He just signed a contract not too long ago. He's 5-year, $100 million deal. And here's the thing. Since he got traded from the Raiders, his production has been undeniable. All right? It's been undeniable. He only had a season during the season and a half he had with Dallas. So here's the thing. Before I get to the stats, actually, no, I'm gonna get to the stats. He already totaled 1,914 yards and 14 touchdowns in just 1.5 seasons with the Cowboys. All right, nearly 2,000 receiving yards already, nearly 15 touchdowns, and his catch rate this past season was over 70%. And then that's absurd given the average depth of target, because Dak Prescott not only had Amari Cooper, but he also had Randall Cobb, who just recently got traded to Houston, and he also had Michael Gallup, who's another receiver that's a young cat working his way up the ladder. So Cooper's stock is only going up at this point. And again, it's going to be him. It's going to be the two-man punch between him and Michael Gallup. And, well, it's questionable because obviously there was a franchise tag placed on Dak Prescott. So, I mean, we don't know if he's going to stay in Dallas. I'm 90% sure he's staying in Dallas because there's rumors saying that Cam Newton, it's pretty reliable sources. I saw it on CBS Sports. I saw it on other sources too. They're saying that Cam Newton could replace Dak and Dak could be traded elsewhere. I don't know. I don't know. You didn't hear that from me. Well, you did hear it on this podcast, but that didn't come from me. It came from, sources on the upper echelon. So say Dak stays, then obviously he has chemistry with Amari Cooper. That's his favorite target. You've seen it. And besides that, you also got Blake Jarwin and Ezekiel Elliott to help out. So again, Amari Cooper, in my opinion, he deserves every bit to be number 5 on this list. Now moving on to number 4, drum roll, even number. I chose the one, the only, DeAndre Hopkins, now with the Arizona Cardinals. So starting off, what the heck was Bill O'Brien even thinking when he traded Hopkins to the Cardinals? But now they got to kind of have the answer, because not only did they get David Johnson, but now recently they got Brandon Cooks. But Brandon Cooks he hasn't really been healthy. He hasn't been consistent. That's a beat up roster. But hey, it's better than nothing, right? So maybe we'll find the answer when the season starts. But anyway, DeAndre Hopkins, here's the thing. I'm going to start off with stats. So over the last 3 seasons alone, he's had 315 catches, 4,115 receiving yards, and 31 touchdowns. So his once mediocre catch rate has also dramatically improved since 2018. And here's the thing. Kyler Murray hit the jackpot here. Kyler Murray is entering his 2nd season in the league, and he already has one of the best receivers on his roster already. So here's the thing. If Arizona adds another weapon in the draft, which is probably going to happen because, again, they didn't really have a really hot season this past year, but knowing that they got DeAndre, they still have the cap space. We'll find out in just a week and a half who they pick. But that's going to give Hopkins some breathing room, so definitely watch out for that. And there's going to be so much depth now with the Cardinals. Not only do you have DeAndre Hopkins, but you got the young cats in Christian Kirk and Andy Isabella, and you have the veteran Larry Fitzgerald. Now, Kyler Murray also has talent in the backfield with Kenyon Drake and Chase Edmonds. Chase Edmonds is a talented backup running back. He could start in a team that has a team on the mediocre side of things. Like some teams have so much depth at running back. Chase Edmonds could start somewhere else if he wanted to. But again, DeAndre Hopkins definitely deserves to be number 4 on this list. Kyler Murray is a talented, phenomenal quarterback. Obviously Deshaun Watson is too. Murray is on the come up. He had a spectacular rookie season. I can't wait to see what he does with this group of talent that he has. So moving on to number 3. So now here it is. Now I'm down to the top 3. So these decisions that I made were extremely difficult. You guys might not agree with it, but hey, it's my podcast. I say what I want. So here we go. Starting off at number 3, I chose Michael Thomas for the New Orleans Saints. Now here's the thing. An argument can be made that Thomas is the most consistent wide receiver in football today. But since he was drafted, he's played 48 of 49 potential games, and he's only missed 1 game since his rookie year. And think about it, he has steadily improved in his production every season since he entered the league. And he's led the NFL in catches the last 2 years, and his 1,725 yards receiving in 2019 were the most since Julio Jones and Antonio Brown's 1,871 and 1,834 in 2015, respectively. So Michael Thomas, again, you guys are probably saying he should be number 1 on this list because of what I just said. But at the same time, these other 2 guys ahead of him, you'll find out why they're ahead of Michael Thomas. But Thomas, on the other hand, I think he's like 6'3", 6'4", definitely a relaxed receiver, definitely catches well in traffic, breaks tackle. It's hard to bring this guy down. He's a big dude. And again, He's also not really the fastest guy out there, right? He's not the fastest guy, but he definitely runs his routes. He catches very well. Hey, arguably the best receiver in NFL history is Jerry Rice, right? He definitely wasn't the fastest guy out there. He wasn't the tallest guy, but he worked with what he has. Michael Thomas is the same thing. He works with what he has, and you also have a Hall of Fame, future Hall of Famer Drew Brees throwing the ball to him. So another thing, you got an amazing quarterback that's helping him out. And there's a lot of depth now. Now with the new addition of Emmanuel Sanders from San Francisco, you got Deontay Harris and Traquan Smith also out there helping out with Drew Brees and those quick slants and skinny post routes. You don't really see them doing any deep routes, but usually most of the time Michael Thomas obviously the number one target. Emmanuel Sanders will be the number two target. So Drew Brees has also a lot of talent to work with. He also got Jared Cook, Alvin Kamara, Latavius Murray, Taysom Hill. I mean, I could list all these names all day if I want to, but Michael Thomas respectively deserves to be number 3 on that list. Now, moving on to number 2, drumroll, even number. I chose Tyreek Hill from Kansas City. Yep, I had to. Now, Super Bowl champ. I mean, here's the thing. There's so many ridiculous athletes playing receiver right now. And Tyreek Hill has them. See, this is the thing. Hill beats them all with his game speed. All right. He's the fastest player in the NFL right now. And he missed 4 games this past season, but he still managed to get 58 catches, 860 yards, and 7 touchdowns. So the stats don't really do his game justice, though. So, again, his stats are probably, in this list, his stats are the worst on this list from this past season. But at the same time, he has the ability to top off any defense at any time. So that's another thing. There's really nobody that's his equal at the cornerback position, right? You got spectacular cornerbacks in Richard Sherman and others out there, Darius Slay, all these other guys out there that are having an extremely difficult time covering him. They have a difficult time even in cover 2 or cover 3 when you say the strong safety or the free safety and the corner pick him up. He still beats them. I'm telling you, he's too fast for these guys. He's not the tallest. He's only like 5'10", maybe shorter than that, probably 5'9", 5'10". But he's so elusive and so fast that nobody can really keep up with him, even in zone coverage. So he's a threat for man and zone coverage. And he's obviously Patrick Mahomes' favorite target. I mean, you've seen it happen in Mahomes' previous seasons, right? And obviously they won the Super Bowl. Mahomes is an amazing quarterback. He is the top quarterback in my opinion right now. He's the best quarterback in the NFL right now, working with the fastest receiver in the league. I mean, you can't beat that 1-2 punch, man. You can't beat it. And he also have a lot of depth with the Kansas City, too. Not only Tyreek Hill, but you also got DeMarcus Robinson, Sammy Watkins, and Mecole Hardman, who just had a pretty decent rookie season. And you also have Damian Williams in the backfield and Travis Kelce, arguably one of the best tight ends in the league. And I'll get to that next week with my top 10 tight ends. So, again, you already see the chemistry with Mahomes. I just can't wait to see what Tyreek Hill does. He's definitely an exciting player to watch. I mean, in my opinion, he's the most electrifying receiver in the league. I'll just leave it there. Now moving on to number 1 on the list. So if you made it this far, I just wanted to say thank you for listening. I hope you guys continue to listen. I mean, again, you can find this podcast pretty much everywhere, right? So here we go. Number 1, Julio Jones with the Atlanta Falcons. Almost mispronounced Falcon. That's pretty sad. And I mean, given that I know Falcon from the Avengers, that has nothing to do with anything. But anyway, here's the thing. Jones had his worst season statistically in his past 6 years, from the 2019 season, but that also speaks to how dominant he's been since Atlanta gave 5 picks to draft him when he did get drafted. So here's the thing. Jones had a down year in 2019, but that down year consisted of 99 catches, 1,394 yards, and 6 touchdowns. That's his down year, and he had over 1,200 receiving yards. How do you do that? How does he do it? And he's over 30 years old, and he's still, he's pretty much at his peak right now. I wouldn't even say that. I feel like this guy has a good 5 to 6 years left, just being consistent. I mean, he is so talented, man. I'm telling you. Last season, he led the league in scrimmage yards per touch, which was 13.8, as a matter of fact. So until somebody shows they can be better than this, I'm going to keep Julio at number 1. I'm going to keep him there. That right there proves the point that, think about it, you have a down year and you still you still have over 1,200 yards. That's a down year for Julio Jones. This man is not normal. He is definitely too elite. I mean, I can't think of anybody obviously, I had Tyreek Hill at number 2, Michael Thomas at number 3. Saints fans are going to say Michael Thomas is better than Julio Jones, or Kansas City Chiefs fans and some analysts out there are going to say Hill's better than Jones. I don't see that. I've always thought Julio Jones was the best receiver the past 3 years, for sure. I always thought he was the best receiver in the league. There was at one point where I thought DeAndre Hopkins was tied with him. Some people thought that entering the preseason into 2019, but I'm telling you, Julio is just too good. I'm sorry. He's too good. And he also has receivers to help him out with Calvin Ridley and now Laquan Treadwell, who was pretty much a bust in the first round from the 2016 draft. But maybe he'll provide I feel like he'll provide great depth as his backup in Atlanta. So obviously, Julio obviously has great chemistry with Matt Ryan. And you also have Todd Gurley as a new addition and Hayden Hurst also as a new addition. And here's another thing. Julio Jones also has Super Bowl experience. I'm just putting it out there. The Falcons, both the Falcons, I mean, pretty much the entire NFC South. The Falcons, the Buccaneers, the Panthers, and even the Saints. All four of those teams are going to be some threats to watch. I mean, I can't wait to watch them play. I'm just hoping that the NFL does not get affected by COVID-19, but it looks like, from what it looks like right now, it looks pretty bad. But again, football doesn't start until early September, preseason in August. But the only problem is training camp. That's the problem. So after the draft, you got rookie camp, you got training camp in July, and you also got mini camp in May. So I don't know how this is going to work. We'll find out. We'll just have to wait and see. I don't want to jump the gun just yet. But I just wanted to say, there's my list. That's my top 10. I hope you guys enjoyed every bit of this episode. I enjoyed talking about it. I enjoyed doing my research and watching football. Obviously, you can tell I'm a huge football fan. And so coming up next, I got some more, interviews with other guests in the near future. So stay tuned for that. And again, I just hope you guys enjoy the rest. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Monday. And once again, thanks for listening. You can find it on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, Deezer, Google Podcasts, any streaming platform you guys use to listen to podcasts. I'm pretty sure my podcast is on there. So again, thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys in episode 80 on Wednesday. Peace.